First Contact and Humiliation. The massive chamber of the Galactic Alliance Council hummed with the voices of 17 distinct species. Some floated in anti-gravity pods, others stood on multiple appendages, and a few shimmered with bioluminescence as they conversed in dozens of languages. Commander Elena Reyes took a deep breath before entering the hall, the weight of humanity's future heavy on her shoulders. "The human delegation may approach," announced Archon Celsus, a tall being with iridescent skin who served as the Alliance's leader. His voice reverberated through the vaulted chamber without the need for amplification. Elena walked forward, her footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. Her team followed behind. Captain Marcus Chen, Dr. Sophia Wilson, and Ambassador Tomas Rodriguez, each carrying data tablets containing Earth's formal application for membership. They wore their best diplomatic uniforms, meticulously pressed for this historic occasion. "We are honored to stand among the stars," Elena said, using the traditional Alliance greeting she had studied for months. A ripple of barely disguised amusement passed through the chamber. One representative, a blue-skinned being with 4 arms, leaned over to whisper to his neighbor. Their translator wasn't fully deactivated, and Elena caught the words "primitive mammals" before the sound cut off. Admiral Zax of the Pelmorian Confederation moved forward. His species resembled humanoid cephalopods, with tendrils framing a face dominated by large, intelligent eyes. "We have reviewed your application for membership," he said, his voice modulated through the translator. "The Alliance is curious about your species." The way he said curious made it clear he meant amused. "We request an inspection of your flagship vessel before making our determination," Zax continued, tendrils swaying gently. "Of course," Elena replied with practiced diplomacy. "The UES Athena awaits your inspection." 2 hours later, Elena's face burned with shame as Admiral Zax ran a scanning device over the ship's engine room. The delegation of aliens had barely hidden their mockery throughout the tour. "This is your primary drive system?" Zax asked, tendrils flaring in what Elena now recognized as their equivalent of laughter. "How do you achieve anything beyond your home system with such basic technology?" "Our ion propulsion system has served us well for interplanetary travel," explained Captain Chen, maintaining his composure. "We've only recently developed our first faster-than-light prototype." Zax made a bubbling sound that the translator didn't bother to interpret. "You still use chemical rockets as backup systems. And these defensive arrays, they're practically museum pieces." The other ambassadors chittered and rumbled in agreement. A small insect-like being tapped at the hull with one of its limbs, as if checking if it would fall apart. Elena maintained her diplomatic smile, though inside she felt like screaming. Earth had worked so hard to reach the stars. Their first contact with an Alliance probe had been celebrated worldwide as humanity's greatest achievement. Yet here they were, being treated like children who had wandered into an adult conversation. "Perhaps you would like to see our medical bay," she suggested, trying to change the subject. "No need," Zax said dismissively. "We've seen enough." The Alliance Council's decision came the next day. Earth was granted provisional membership, the lowest possible status. Humans would be allowed to attend outer council meetings, but would have no voting rights. They could trade with Alliance worlds, but were restricted from accessing any advanced technology. "It is for your own protection," Archon Celsus explained with what seemed like genuine benevolence. "Young species often destroy themselves when given power they don't understand." Elena bowed and accepted the terms, knowing Earth had no choice. Without Alliance protection, humanity would be vulnerable to the many dangers of the galaxy that they were only beginning to comprehend. That night, in the privacy of their temporary quarters on the Alliance station, Elena's team gathered to process the day's events. "They treated us like we're stupid," said Dr. Wilson, their chief scientist, her voice tight with anger. "Did you see how they looked at our propulsion designs? Like we were showing them stone tools," Captain Chen added bitterly. Elena held up her hand for silence. "What matters isn't their opinion of us now," she said firmly. "What matters is what we do next." She activated her secure tablet and opened a classified file. While they were busy laughing at our outdated systems, I had our hidden scanners recording everything about their technology. Every ship in the docking bay, every device they carried. The team leaned forward, their expressions changing from defeat to interest. Their shields operate on principles we never imagined. Elena continued. Their FTL drives use dimensional folding rather than space compression, and their power sources. She shook her head in wonder. We have years of research ahead of us. They'll never share that technology with us, Dr. Wilson pointed out. Elena smiled, a determined, almost predatory expression. They don't need to share it. They've already shown it to us, and human ingenuity has always been our greatest strength. She looked around at her team. They think we'll be content to sit at the kids' table, grateful for whatever scraps they throw our way. But they don't understand humans. We don't just copy, Captain Chen said slowly, understanding dawning on his face. We improve. Exactly, said Elena. The Alliance has existed for thousands of years. They follow established patterns. Their technology evolves slowly because they think they've reached the peak. She stood up, determination hardening her features. We'll play the part they expect. We'll attend their meetings, trade our primitive goods, and act appropriately grateful for their guidance. And meanwhile, we'll be learning everything we can, finished Ambassador Rodriguez, a gleam in his eye. Not just learning, Elena corrected. Building, innovating, creating something they've never seen before. Back on Earth, research teams worked day and night studying the data collected from the Alliance. Engineers who had once focused on chemical rockets now explored the possibilities of gravitational manipulation. Physicists who had theorized about faster-than-light travel now had concrete examples to study. The Alliance had laughed at human ships, but they had made a critical error. They had underestimated the speed at which humans could adapt and evolve. And in doing so, they had set in motion events that would one day shock the entire galaxy. 3 years passed since Earth joined the Galactic Alliance. On the surface, humans played their role perfectly. They attended council meetings without complaint. They traded basic goods with Alliance worlds. They expressed appropriate gratitude when allowed to visit Alliance scientific facilities. Meanwhile, deep beneath the lunar surface, the real work happened. The Copernicus crater base appeared to be a simple mining operation on official records. Alliance inspectors who visited saw only what humans wanted them to see: workers extracting minerals, basic living quarters, and technology that matched Earth's expected level of development. None of the inspectors knew about the vast complex 5 kilometers below the surface, shielded from detection by a revolutionary phase-shifting technology reverse-engineered from Alliance sensors. Dr. Sophia Wilson stood at the center of the underground command room, surrounded by holographic displays showing complex equations. 50 of Earth's most brilliant scientists worked at stations around her. They had been selected not just for their intelligence, but for their ability to think beyond established scientific principles. Progress report, Wilson requested, her voice calm despite the pressure they all felt. Dr. Keto looked up from his station. The quantum singularity remained stable for 23 seconds in our last test. That's 5 seconds longer than yesterday. And the containment field? Wilson asked. Holding at 98% efficiency. Another scientist replied. We're making improvements hourly. Wilson nodded, satisfied. What they were attempting had been declared theoretically impossible by Alliance scientists. According to the textbooks they'd been permitted to see, controlled quantum collapse could never be sustained. The energies involved were too chaotic, too destructive. But humans had always excelled at doing the impossible. Wilson gathered her team for their daily briefing. The scientists stood in a circle, tired but determined. Many had not seen natural sunlight in months. The Alliance Scientific Council published a new paper yesterday, Wilson told them, activating a holographic display. They once again stated that controlled dimensional manipulation beyond simple FTL travel is, quote, a fantasy pursued only by primitive species who don't understand cosmic principles. Soft laughter rippled through the room. They think we're still playing with lasers and kinetics, Wilson continued, a rare smile crossing her face. But what they don't understand is that humans don't follow established scientific paradigms. We break them. She brought up a new display, the schematics for a massive ship unlike anything humanity had ever built. Project Prometheus is now 70% complete. Once our drive system is perfected, we can begin final assembly. Work proceeded on what appeared to be different vessels. Earth's official shipbuilding program was transparent to Alliance observers. They were constructing simple exploration ships, colony vessels, and cargo haulers, nothing that would concern the more advanced species. What the observers didn't know was that each separate ship contained components designed to connect together. Like a complex puzzle, these parts would eventually form something much more significant. Captain Chen walked through one such shipyard near Mars alongside an Alliance inspector. This section will become the forward hull of the UES Discovery, Chen explained, pointing to a massive piece of metal being welded by robotic arms. A simple exploration vessel for charting the outer solar system. The Alliance inspector, a tall being with purple skin, nodded absently. These visits were mere formalities. Human ships were so primitive they posed no possible threat to the Alliance. Your progress is appropriate for your development stage, the inspector said condescendingly. Though I notice you're still using titanium alloys rather than crystalline composites. We're still learning, Shen replied with a carefully humble smile, not mentioning that the titanium contained elements unknown to Alliance science, developed in secret labs on Earth. Months passed. The project accelerated. On the Moon, Dr. Wilson's team achieved the impossible, a stable quantum singularity that could be created, controlled, and dispersed on command. The potential applications were staggering. We could have weaponized this, Dr. Keto said quietly as they watched the contained singularity pulse in its magnetic field. That's not our mission, Wilson reminded him. This is for propulsion and defensive capabilities only. We're not building a weapon of aggression. But both knew that the line between defensive and offensive technology was thin. Finally, the day came. Project Prometheus was ready. Under the cover of routine maneuvers, the separate sections were brought to the dark side of the Moon. There, hidden from Alliance sensors, the true assembly began. Commander Elena Reyes arrived on the construction site after a week-long journey from Earth. She had been chosen to command humanity's secret flagship, not just for her tactical skills, but for her ethical judgment. Elena watched through the viewport as the massive sections came together in lunar orbit. Workers in specialized suits moved around the hull, connecting systems and calibrating equipment. What had appeared to be 12 different ships was becoming one incredible vessel. It's larger than I expected, she said to Dr. Wilson beside her. Wait until you see what it can do, Wilson replied, pride evident in her voice despite her exhaustion. The confrontation and revelation. 5 years after Earth's admission into the Galactic Alliance, the Grand Council chamber fell silent as the Voraxian ambassador strode to the center. Ambassador Krell stood nearly 3 meters tall, his armored exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber lights. Voraxians were known throughout the galaxy for two things, their military power and their endless hunger for expansion. Elena Reyes, now promoted to admiral, felt a chill as the ambassador's compound eyes swept across the human delegation. She had represented Earth in the Alliance for years now, slowly earning some measure of respect despite humanity's low status. But something in the Voraxian's gaze told her that trouble was coming. Esteemed members of the Alliance, Krell began, his translator converting his clicking language to the common tongue. The Voraxian Empire wishes to formally announce its intention to expand into Sector 47. Elena stiffened. Sector 47 included 3 human colony worlds, Europa Base, Titan Station, and the Mars Colony. Nearly 50,000 human lives. This is human territory, she said, rising from her seat, recognized by the Alliance Charter 5 years ago. Ambassador Krell turned slowly to face her, his mandibles flexing in what might have been a smile. "Ah, the human representative speaks," he said. "Yes, we are aware of your settlements. We have prepared a generous relocation package for your colonists." Elena kept her face neutral despite her rising anger. "Our colonies are not open for negotiation." The Varaxian made a dismissive gesture with one armored claw. "You misunderstand, Admiral. This is not a negotiation. This is a courtesy notice." The chamber erupted in murmurs as representatives from other species turned to their neighbors. Archon Celsus raised his hand for silence. "Ambassador Krell," the Archon said carefully, "the Alliance Charter clearly protects the territorial rights of all member species, even provisional members like Earth." Krell nodded as if in agreement. "Of course, Archon. However, Section 12 of the Charter also allows for territorial adjustments when a more developed civilization requires resources for the greater good. The Varaxian Empire is experiencing a population boom requiring immediate expansion." "The Varaxian Empire is hardly struggling to survive," Elena pointed out. "Your species controls 23 star systems." "And soon 26, Krell replied calmly. "Your colonies have rich mineral deposits that will benefit the greater alliance. Surely humans can understand sacrifice for the collective welfare." Elena looked around the chamber, seeking support from the other representatives. She found few allies. Most avoided her gaze. Some nodded slightly in agreement with the Varaxian. "I call for a formal alliance vote on this matter," she said, invoking one of the few rights humans had in the council. The vote took less than 10 minutes. The result was crushing. 3 species supported Earth's position. 5 abstained, and the remaining 9, including the powerful Archon species, voted to allow the Varaxian expansion. "The Alliance recognizes the Varaxian claim," the Archon announced, not quite meeting Elena's eyes. "Sector 47 will transition to Varaxian control within the standard adjustment period of 60 days. And if we refuse?" Elena asked, her voice echoing in the suddenly quiet chamber. Ambassador Krell stepped closer to her. Though she stood tall at 180 centimeters, the Varaxian towered over her. "Your species has potential as servants," he stated. "Resistance would be unfortunate. Your ships cannot withstand even our patrol vessels." The threat hung in the air, clear to everyone present. The Varaxians would not hesitate to use force if humans resisted. "I request an emergency recess," Elena said to the Archon, "and 72 hours to consult with Earth's leadership before further discussion." The Archon nodded, relieved at the chance to end the tense meeting. "Granted. The Council will reconvene in 3 days." As the chamber emptied, Admiral Zax approached Elena. The Pelnorian seemed uncomfortable. "Admiral Reyes," he said quietly, "I advise you to accept the relocation package. The Varaxians are not known for their restraint when they encounter resistance." "Thank you for your concern," Elena replied coldly. "But humans are not known for surrendering what's ours." Back in her quarters, Elena opened a secure channel to Earth. General Alvarez, head of Earth's defense forces, appeared on the screen. "I've been briefed on the situation," he said without preamble. "What's your assessment?" "The Alliance has abandoned us," Elena replied. "They'll do nothing if the Varaxians attack our colonies." Alvarez was silent for a moment. "Then it's time," he said finally. "Project Prometheus is ready. Admiral Chen is in command and awaiting your orders." Elena felt a rush of both dread and anticipation. For 5 years, they had hidden their true capabilities. For 5 years, they had played the role of the humble, primitive species. "Send the Prometheus to Mars Colony," she ordered. "Keep it hidden until I return. I want to be on board when we make our stand." 3 days later, a small human shuttle approached Mars. From the outside, it looked like a standard diplomatic vessel, nothing that would draw attention from the Varaxian scouts already monitoring the system. Inside, Elena gazed out the viewport at the red planet and its bustling colony. 50,000 humans had made their homes there, transforming parts of the harsh landscape into habitable domes. They wouldn't abandon it without a fight. As her shuttle approached the main colony dome, a section of the ground slid open, revealing a hidden hangar bay large enough to accommodate her small vessel. Once inside, the bay resealed, becoming invisible from above. Admiral Marcus Chen greeted her as she disembarked. "Welcome to Mars, Admiral Reyes. The Prometheus is waiting." They descended through a series of security checkpoints into a massive underground hangar. And there it was, humanity's secret weapon. The UES Prometheus. The ship was unlike anything the Alliance had ever seen. Its sleek hull was composed of a material that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. No visible weapons ports marred its smooth surface, though Elena knew it contained defensive and offensive capabilities that would shock the galaxy. "She's beautiful," Elena whispered. "And fully operational," Chen confirmed. "All systems have been tested and are functioning at optimal levels. The quantum singularity drive is stable and capable of sustained operation. Crew, 300 of Earth's finest, all prepared for what's coming. They understand what's at stake." Elena nodded. "Let's hope the Varaxians can be reasoned with when they see what we're capable of." "And if they can't?" Chen asked quietly. "Then may whatever gods they believe in have mercy on them." The next day, as the Alliance Council reconvened, the Varaxian fleet arrived in Earth's solar system. 6 massive warships, each capable of destroying a small moon, took up positions around Mars. Their message was clear: surrender the colonies or face annihilation. Inside the council chamber, Ambassador Krell's mandibles clicked in satisfaction as he received the report. "I see your leadership has chosen resistance," he said to Elena. "How disappointing, if predictable. My fleet commander informs me that your Mars colony has 7 hours to begin evacuation before they commence orbital bombardment." Elena stood. "On behalf of Earth and all human colonies, I formally reject the Varaxian Empire's claim to any of our territories." Murmurs of surprise rippled through the chamber. Most had expected humans to capitulate when faced with such overwhelming force. Furthermore, Elena continued, "I invite Ambassador Krell and any interested Alliance representatives to observe a demonstration of human defensive capabilities." Krell's compound eyes seemed to narrow. "You have no defensive capabilities that could possibly concern a Varaxian battlecruiser." "Then you have nothing to worry about," Elena replied calmly. "Shall we watch together?" A large view screen activated in the center of the chamber, showing a real-time feed of the Varaxian fleet orbiting Mars. The Alliance representatives leaned forward, curious about this unexpected development. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, without warning, the ground beneath the main Mars colony seemed to split open. From the massive hidden hangar bay rose the UES Prometheus, its dark hull gleaming in the sunlight as it ascended towards the Varaxian fleet. Gasps echoed through the council chamber. Even Krell's mandibles froze in mid-click. "What is that?" Archon Celsus asked, his voice barely audible. "That," Elena replied, "is a human warship." On the screen, the Prometheus accelerated toward the Varaxian fleet. The lead Varaxian battlecruiser immediately opened fire, energy beams lancing out toward the human vessel. The beams seemed to bend around the Prometheus, never making contact with its hull. "Quantum deflection shield," Elena explained casually. "One of our newer innovations." The Prometheus continued its approach, still not firing any weapons. The Varaxian ships intensified their barrage, emptying their energy reserves into attacks that simply curved around their target. "Your ship appears adept at defense," Krell said, regaining his composure. "But it shows no offensive capabilities. My fleet commander reports no weapon systems detected." "That's because we don't use conventional weapons," Elena replied. On the view screen, the Prometheus came to a stop. A small pulse of blue light emanated from its forward section. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, space itself appeared to fold around the lead Varaxian battlecruiser. The massive ship distorted, stretched, and then imploded into a pinpoint of light that quickly winked out of existence. The council chamber fell into stunned silence. "What you just witnessed," Elena said into the quiet, "was a controlled quantum singularity. It creates a localized distortion in space-time that can be directed with extreme precision. That battlecruiser wasn't destroyed. It was removed from our universe entirely." The remaining Varaxian ships began to retreat, engines flaring as they attempted to escape. "They can leave in peace," Elena continued. "We have no desire for conflict. But let me be absolutely clear. Earth and its colonies are not to be threatened again. We have maintained the appearance of technological inferiority because we wish to be accepted based on our character, not feared for our capabilities. That facade ends today." She turned to face Krell directly. "Ambassador, you have 1 hour to recall all Varaxian forces from our system and formally withdraw your territorial claims." Krell's massive form seemed to have shrunk somehow. "This technology, it's impossible. The Alliance determined that quantum manipulation on this scale could not be achieved." "Humans have a saying, Ambassador," Elena replied. "The word impossible is often just a lack of imagination." The aftermath of what became known as the Mars demonstration changed humanity's place in the galaxy forever. The Varaxians withdrew their claims and signed a non-aggression pact with Earth. The Alliance Council, shaken by the revelation of human technological prowess, voted unanimously to grant Earth full membership status. As Elena stood in the council chamber a week later, accepting the formal recognition, she reflected on how quickly things had changed. The same representatives who had once mocked human ships now regarded her with a mixture of respect and wariness. "We hope that this marks the beginning of a new era of cooperation," Archon Celsus said as he presented her with the seal of full membership. "As do we," Elena replied. "Humans have always believed that true strength lies not in domination, but in collaboration. We didn't develop our technology to conquer, but to ensure that we would never be conquered." As she spoke, the UES Prometheus orbited silently above the Alliance homeworld, a reminder that the species they had once dismissed as primitive had transcended their expectations in ways they were only beginning to understand. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.